So yes, hi, my name is JJ Asghar, and I'm a developer advocate for IBM. I don't know what that means either anymore. Also, those dad jokes that I had earlier, if you want those, I have like 150 of them. It's actually how I test the screen before I get on a talk, to kind of set the mood for the room. I make stupid dad jokes, and I try to make this fun. Yeah. I really do have the email address of awesome@ibm.com. I can tell you how I got that at a later date if you so choose. But I'm here to talk about open source AI. Luckily, I have the privilege of speaking to y'all about it. By the way, I am a Texan, so I will say y'all. About basically people, there we go, Longhorn, perfect. This is the right audience for this talk. But from the talks I've seen earlier, y'all are very, very advanced. So I'm going to be kind of taking it back here and talking a little bit more basic information, because we all need consistent vernacular and a consistent place to speak from. Because as we start talking more about open source AI to the world, against the Redmonds of the world and the Silicon Valleys of the world, yes, I'm not going to call them out, but you know what I'm talking about. I want to make sure that we all are on kind of the same page. So I like interaction, I like questions, I used to be a streamer, back in the days of we're not allowed to leave our houses. So if you want to ask me a question, raise your hand while I'm talking, but we're going to have some fun together. Thumbs up, we're good? Awesome, cool. But before I go anywhere, by the way, I have a few QR codes. I would love everyone to pull out your camera and take a picture of that to prove to my boss that you're actually in this room. Because I've got to justify me being out on stage, because he pays a lot of money to get me to talk places. He's over here giving me the evil eye, by the way. You can talk to him later. But yes, this just hits a QR code to Granite, which is the open source AI model that IBM has that we're going to talk a little bit about today. But all it is just QR code of that, and it's a number that I can say, this is how many people came to my talk. So perfect. And again, I have some more QR codes too that we'll go through. All right, cool. So, what is an open source model? That is actually the first question a lot of people ask, right? Because we really do need to talk about this as a whole. I know other speakers have spoken about this. I have my opinions. IBM has their own. Oops, that didn't go where I wanted it to go. So, the largest problem with open source models as a whole, I'm going to have to keep walking back here now because I go down and over. But anyway, is that AI models are binaries, right? Like when you run an AI model, you pull something down from Hugging Face, you don't get the source code, right? Like you get the open source model, but there's no actual source code to it. It's a binary file, which in certain terms makes life a little bit easier for people, but in general, you've got to think about that. There is no real source code. Luckily, Granite, which is, again, what I'm going to keep coming back to, has we've been working with the MOF, which is the Model Openness Framework, which we believe is the best, closest way to being an open source model, right? Like that's really important to recognize. If you want to take a picture of that QR code, it just goes to isitopen.ai. We work really hard in Europe, specifically, to make sure that we fit the GDPRs and the actual, what's a good word for it? Regulations that exist outside of the United States. I can tell you, as someone who gets to talk about AI all over the world, here in America, we've given away a lot of our private data, and we've given a lot of our rights to when it comes to privacy. In Europe, they still protect it, and AI has to fit in their model. And luckily, no pun intended, of course. That was supposed to be a joke. Nobody laughed. Cool. But luckily, our model fits inside of that role. So the TLDR is. We don't know what open source means, right? Like this is also my opinion, but if you really start playing in this space, the idea of open source, what we used to be as open source is you get the source code from GitHub or GitLab or whatever. Yes, GitLab, you're here, I know. And you get the source code, and you actually build the binary or the file on your machine, you get the Python files or whatever. And you can't really do that with models, because you got to get the data, and you've got to build the model from the ground up, and that brings in some really interesting conversations when you start wanting to add new knowledge to your model. So that brings us to something called InstructLab. You might have seen the booth out in the front. I was deeply involved in the InstructLab project, and still am, where what this actually does is something called, is that right? Yes. That is called fine-tuning. So one of the challenges of when you start adding more knowledge to models, you've got to kind of imagine, didn't go to the right slide. So you've got to imagine where the model is, where eventually the model only knows up to what it knows, right? So you have the ability to use something like InstructLab, which is an opinionated workflow to tune a model, which is really, really important. And I'll get into what fine-tuning is in just a second. This is the actual feedback loop that exists inside of the original plan of InstructLab, which, if you notice, is very interesting because the idea was we open sourced a model which was based off of the Granite model, which again I'm going to keep coming back to. And then we had a public taxonomy, which you were able to add new knowledge or new skills to it. Then we would actually compile or build the model periodically, and then we'd release it again. So if you imagine it, over time, you would start adding new things to the model. And what we're going to show you here in a second is one of those examples. We have something called a Q&A.yaml. Does everyone know what Q&A stands for? Does anyone not know what Q&A stands for? There we go, question and answer. That's what it stands for. It's becoming a default standard, which is really nice. And if you take a look here, that didn't work how I wanted it to. That is very small. Hang on one second. So who has actually ever fine-tuned a model before? Have you written thousands upon thousands of questions and been really sad because you had to do thousands and thousands of questions? The answer is yes. No? Okay, cool. Well, the best part about the InstructLab process is we have something called synthetic data generation. Right? What is synthetic data generation? We give it a bunch of questions, as you can not see in this. What? No. There we go. There we go, now we can read it. So the idea is, when you start fine-tuning a model, and we'll get into more details of what it is, but I want to make sure we got through this process first, is that you need to give it new information. Well, in order for you to change the weights of a model, you need to give thousands and thousands of questions to it. Synthetic data generation from the InstructLab system takes spirited questions, that I kind of describe it. For instance, who is Mudang? Do we know who Mudang is? The pygmy? Yeah, okay, cool. So one of the challenges is that the Granite 7B model was released after Mudang hit the internet, right? So we wanted to teach the new model who Mudang was. So what we did is we wrote some documentation, and we built this YAML file, which now will read the source documentation and pull out from this context and ask it a bunch of questions. And it takes the spirit of these questions and asks thousands and thousands of more questions around it, so it starts learning about what it is. So if you don't understand from other conversations like the vector databases and adding the precision and all that stuff, it starts adding those new dots, if you will, inside that graph and be able to add new things to it. So it's important to recognize this. This is InstructLab in a nutshell. And then, if I come back over here, the source document is just basically a markdown file. Now, why am I going through all this? You're probably wondering, like, why is JJ traveling on about this? Or traveling on? That's not a word. But anyway, it's the idea is that you can add new knowledge, right? One of the biggest problems with AI as a whole is the actual ability to add new knowledge to models. And this goes back again to what open source modeling is, or open source AI models is because we need to know what knowledge is inside these things, right? We need to know that what we're building is something that is, not biased, right? One of the best questions and one of the best stories we've had with InstructLab specifically was when we were going through this feedback loop of this guy, right? when we were going through this feedback loop, that periodic release and the triage and merging, we would have a council of people that would come together when we saw a new PR come in, like that Q&A.yaml, and we'd actually talk about it. So our first example were dad jokes. Yeah, I'm going to bring it back to dad jokes. And we recognized very quickly that they were US-centric dad jokes. And I had a friend, his name's Arnaud, who was on the council with us, and he's French. He's like, JJ, what the hell does this mean? And I'm like, oh, that's right, you're French. This literally means nothing to you. But it was a perfect moment in time where we recognized that we had created a system that we were first biasing our model to US dad jokes, but do our competitors ever talk about that level of transparency? Right? Imagine that. Like, will the people in Redmond or the people in the Silicon Valley ever come together and say, you know what? We screwed up. We weren't supposed to do this. We gave the model a bias that turns out, USA or whatever. And that's important to recognize. And that's one reason why I really appreciate this project and what we're doing here at IBM, because we really are international, because we are a global nation, or global nation, global world. Okay, so that's the TLDR of InstructLab. I strongly suggest you take some moments with Taylor out there. Assume Taylor, you're in here, are you? No? Go talk to Taylor out there. She will go much deeper into it for you. Okay, so we've probably talked about this a couple times, but I want to kind of reiterate on this, which is the difference between RAG and fine-tuning, because this is a natural conversation that appears when you start adding new knowledge and trying to pull new knowledge out of a model. This is one of the best analogies, metaphors. I never get it right. I'm a professional speaker. That's wonderful. One of the best ways I tell the story when I'm trying to give a elevator pitch on the difference between using a RAG and a fine-tuning. First of all, imagine your AI model is a librarian. And first of all, if you didn't know, librarians, their real job is not to put books on shelves. It's actually to do research for us. They are amazing, and you should find your librarian and give them a high five or whatever. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. So if you want to take and run with it a little farther, imagine your RAG as a library, right? So you have a librarian, they have a library. Now, what is inside of a library? A bunch of books, right? The librarian knows where all those books are, knows how to find the book and give it to you, but that is actually what the RAG is. It's basically a database of a bunch of spaces that the librarian can go in and find that book for you. Fine-tuning is when you've decided that the librarian needs to know something new inside of its brain, right? So maybe the librarian doesn't know Mount Vernon is where George Washington lived in Virginia, right? Well, if you want to send them back to school, which is much more expensive than adding a new book to the library, that's what fine-tuning is. It's a much more expensive way to get that knowledge inside the model. But you need to realize that there's what I like to call an accordion problem, where you need to experiment with knowing how much time and effort you want to put into adding new knowledge to a model to it being able to go out to the library and pulling that book. Now, for you and me running this on our laptops at home, it's not a big deal, right? It's really not. But when you start looking at real scale for business, and all of a sudden you're running so many versions of that model, hitting that database over and over again, that's real compute. That's real power usage. So what becomes more expensive? Running and hitting that database, going over the network, or spending that time to fine-tune something inside of? Does it make sense? Did I lose people? Thumbs up? Awesome. Any questions? I'm a Pisces. I watch Netflix a lot. No? Okay. Okay, so let's take a quick aside, because we do actually need to talk about, as you start playing in this space, you need to start thinking more about agents. I know people know about agents here, but let's go talk about some agentic workflows too. That's what I just said. So what is an agent, right? Like, we talk about this to make sure we're all on the same page. An agent is basically a model that is focused on a specific job. Who remembers that old great Unix saying, yes, I have gray in my beard, do one job and one job well, right? And that is what an agent is supposed to be. It does one job and one job well. There's a few frameworks out there if you've never seen it. The B framework, for obvious reasons, IBM, right? You're going to only use IBM's framework, right? Yeah? No? Okay, cool. There's also Crew AI. I will say, this video that is linked, by the way, I will have a QR code to these slides. That is a phenomenal, about hour and a half video on teaching how to use Crew AI from the ground up. I learned so much about agents as somebody who does this day in and day out. Just from that video, I cannot stress it enough. And then there's AutoGen out there too. AutoGen's the Microsoft one. I've never used it, but I figured I should at least put it up there. But what is it, right? So the idea of having little small models that do little things for you. So as you start building up these models, right, to do little agent works or little, as I hate to use the term, but it's true, micro LLMs. I mean, thank you for laughing. Thank you. But I can't think of another word for it because that's what it is, right? It's a small version of a large language model. I hate those terms. But you start thinking about what you need to actually tune, right? And if you go to Hugging Face, on March 10th, there's 1.4 million models out there right now. That seems like a lot. I don't know about y'all. I don't know if I can trust any of these. This seems kind of scary, right? Like, if you've decided to go down this path of doing all this stuff with AI, you have, when we don't know what open source is, what is that pedigree of 1.4 million models, right? Like, this is scary. Like, we thought GitHub was bad when it first came out, but that's ridiculous, right? So it's a good point to put down. And that brings us back to Granite, right? Like, what am I gonna start talking about now is basically why Granite is something you should seriously take some time with, right? As somebody who spends a lot of time in this space, and after seeing that 4 million models on Hugging Face, I don't know if I could trust my business with this, right? Like, if you don't know the model that you're pulling down to train from because you just pulled it from wherever the hellville, you know, like, how do you know they don't have something that's really bad inside of it that when your customer down the street, down line, starts using it and, you know, tells you to kill all humans? That's probably not going to go so well over your business. Luckily, Granite is designed to kind of fit into this space. There's a handful of Granite models out there if you didn't know. Back to that the great concept of do one job and one job well. Our competitors over in Silicon Valley and Redmond, they want to go with the big models, right? Like, they want to do one model that does, you know, gets the ring. No, that's a bad, Sauron's eye? No, that's wrong too. Anyway, the idea is we're trying to use is we want to spend the time and effort to do small models that focus on very specific work. And these are our main models right now. Obviously, the Granite code you can probably recognize as our competitor to the Copilots of the world. Embedding, time series. Guardian's interesting because it actually does some really interesting work around that. Vision was just released. Our models can now read charts and graphs inside of documents, which is fun. It also can read chessboards, by the way, which is pretty fun. I'm a chess nerd. And then Granite 3.2 is our main LLM. So one of the challenges as you start playing in this space more, and we have businesses who want to use, you know, want to use AI as a whole, and they come along and they're like, hey, I want to use AI. Well, another metaphor, analogy, again, don't know the difference, is I hear all these people who know they need a car, right? But luckily, we all here know the difference between, you know, a Ferrari, a GTR, and a pickup, right? Like, there are different uses for different cases. And when I'm trying to talk to people in general about AI, they don't really grasp the use cases of what's advantage. They know they want to use it, but they don't understand it. So I want to go through a couple of use cases that I've found for Granite that are very, very valuable. So the first one is an accident that I did. I'm a very lazy man. I'm a sysadmin by heart, right? Like, I got a bunch of gray in my beard. I like to write a script so I never have to do it again. And I also run conferences. I run the CFP for something called DevOps Days Austin. I'm very proud of that job. But we also get 192 CFPs every year. I'm not going to read 192 CFPs. That is ridiculous. So what I ended up doing is I actually wrote this something called the AI abstract classifier that takes all the abstracts and then shoves it into an AI model and gives me a percentage of being a sales pitch. So, because how many times do you want to go to a conference where you have someone like me talking to you about how awesome their software is? Oh, that was a little meta. Anyway, but that's actually what this is designed to do, right? Which is really neat, because now I can make sure I get the right thing for it. Turns out, we just closed our CFP. My prompt tuning, my model and my prompt was a little off, but I got 6 of the 12 talks accepted, which is pretty good if you think about it. Like, it went through 192 different abstracts, found 6 of the ones that all of my other people who are on the committee voted up to go, that's pretty nice. That saved me quite a bit of work. I did obviously read all 196, but that's beside the point. Next year I won't. No, I will. Maybe not, I don't know. Okay, so the next one, if you were here yesterday, or not yesterday, this is actually something I'm really proud of. Who knows what Nagios is? Yeah, see, I like it, the guy with the very big old beard in the background too. There we go, love it. Kindred spirit. I actually got a talk accepted to tweak this at Nagios World about, which is leveraging the Granite time series to do capacity planning. Wouldn't it be neat, because you now have a bunch of alerts coming in or whatever, wouldn't it be neat to have an agent running the time series that is monitoring your over time when certain things might happen, right? Like if you have a file system error or problems happening, and you actually have an agent that does this. Now extrapolate that farther. You start playing with it. You basically have sentries inside of your network to make sure that your ecosystem is running how you expect it to, which is unbelievably powerful. This is one that was really fun. By the way, that's my daughter, very, very angry in the background. But I went to a STEM night where if you don't know what STEM is, hopefully you do because you're at a tech conference. Well, I ended up teaching a bunch of these elementary kids about using AI to write stories. So if you look here, this is me using the bottom one. Yeah, I've done it in Terminal too, so it looked even cooler. Where there was this boy, there's his head. He really likes NCAA football. He's a Texan, what do you expect? And he was like, hey, write me a story about my favorite NCAA team winning the national championship. So we did, and then what I ended up doing is I ended up using one of the vision models to build a picture of what was described from the Granite model. Now, what ended up happening was all the parents saw me doing this. They're like, I don't have to tell stories anymore. This is amazing. But it clicked, right? It clicked. This use case actually brought it, and we brought it to life with a picture too, which is really awesome. And then finally, the one that if you've been here yesterday and the rest of today, I'm a type 1 diabetic. I have the luxury of being on an insulin pump, just to prove to you all I'm not lying, right? And I have a problem with taking supplies. If you look at my bag, which is up there, I have to deal with pump supplies constantly. Wouldn't it be neat if I could ask the time series data, or time series model to tell me how much insulin I'm going to use over time, and then project how many times I need to take insulin with me on a trip? I go on trips quite a bit, and it takes up a lot of space. Well, it turns out, Ming, are you in here? No? Jackson, are you in here? I don't know. You said? Yeah, I guess everyone left me. Well, it turns out Ming and Jackson yesterday during the workshop day, we got a lot farther than we thought we were going to get. But we actually have a working POC, which is really fun, of this actually using the time series data. So come up to the Granite lounge up here on the second floor and come see what's going on. It's actually a lot of fun. Okay, so I only have about 5 minutes left. So hopefully this is kind of, clicked on a couple people's, maybe people are a little bit interesting. This is when I'm actually going to bring out your phone, please. How do I play with this stuff, right? Like, JJ, you keep talking about it. What does this cost? What do I do with it? Well, first of all, you can do this all open source on free on your laptop, which is kind of nice. The first one I want to talk about is the open source workshop. This is hopefully also I'll be able to do this at conferences and we can do this together. Or if you come upstairs, I'm more than welcome to teach you, walk you through it. This is everything you need to get working on your laptop today. Which is pretty nice. You get all the way to getting Llama installed, anything LLM, even some ways to do some fine tuning. Also PRs accepted if you have better ideas. You're more than welcome to play with that, which is nice. It gives you kind of the foundation, for lack of a better word. Foundation model, huh? No? Okay. There we go, thank you. To be able to do the work there. Next is the Granite workshop, which is, if you were here yesterday, my cohort, BJ, did. If you are just showing up now, I'm spoiling it. This is actually how to do it yourself on the stuff too. Hey Todd, how you doing? So I want to make sure you saw that too. And then finally, everyone got pictures? Thank you. That's all I got, right? And I think if I time this correctly, we should be finishing right about now. And this is the QR code to these actual slides that you're more than welcome to steal. All the links are in blue, like links are supposed to be, last time I checked. And if I can answer any questions, I'm around. Thank y'all.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, JJ. Wonderful job.